been meaning to get this mod on video for quite some time. Basically all we're doing is going to light up the Nintendo logo and the A and B indicators. I've seen people light up the select and start, but I'll show you here in a minute. I don't really think it's going to look that good even if I try it, but I don't offer it as a service really. So, you know, the first thing obviously is to take them apart and clean the shit out of them. Just 6 small Phillips screws on the back of each. And what I do is I take the circuit boards and lay them aside. Clean those later, and then I just take all of this stuff and I just soak it in purple cleaner, degreaser for, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. That way I can get all this crap out of all the lettering on the back and, you know, all the junk that seems to form inside of these, especially anywhere your fingers are. You know, those get really gross. All the edges up in here get really gross, so I'll throw them in the degrease bath for a while. Okay, while those are soaking, I'll show you how I clean these boards. I just got a steel bristled toothbrush type thing, and I just kind of lightly scratch all the carbon pads. And then I have just a piece of paper towel, and I put a dab of WD-40 on there, wipe them down. See that? And then I take a different edge that's dry and wipe off all the excess. And that'll leave them ready for service. Simple. Okay, so all the stuff is clean. I'm gonna break out my bag of goodies here. One of the first things that I do is peel off the sticker on the controller. Set it aside. And this is, I have one, this is in wax paper, but I have one off of a broken controller or whatever that I actually cut out kind of a template for the A and the B and logo. It's kind of hard to see. I also cut out the select start, but if you look on the back, you'll notice there's red behind the Nintendo and the AB logos, and you can actually shine light through them, and they light up really well. But the select start, there's no red on the back, and it don't pop, it don't glow real well. It's just kind of a, I don't know. Like if I lit up the gray, it would show, of course, but it wouldn't pop like the Nintendo and the AB logo do. So that's kind of why I don't do it. And probably when I get done with the remaining LEDs that I have, I'm probably not going to offer this mod anymore because I only charge like $15 per controller, and it is just too much work. The way that I do this, I should say. I might come up with a different way, I'm not sure yet. But I found these LEDs on Mouser. They have a flat top on them. They're kind of a top hat shape. I'll get a close up for you, but what that does, it makes it easy to press fit into a hole and then sit flat against the logo. That's why I've got holes drilled here instead of just a cutout. But it takes 6 LEDs per controller to do it this way, and 3 resistors, and a lot of work. So it looks like I've got 4 more controllers that I can do with the LEDs and resistors that I got, and then I'm done doing it this way. What I really wanted to do was find a way to cut out the actual square of the Nintendo logo and just, kind of give it some kind of a backlight instead of having an LED try to get it underneath that logo like that. So I just lay the template on there, and then I just put a little dot where I think the LED needs to go. Like so. I'm basically done with the template. And then I have, let's see, looks like a number 10 drill bit, but it just happens to be the exact same, or the exact size that I need to be able to press these LEDs into the hole and make them stay. Usually I do this over the trash can, but since it's plastic and this is a nice new sharp bit, I don't really have problems with it walking, so I just go right after it. Another problem with this mod is the hole that I have to drill down here for A and B usually ends up being a hair too big. I don't know if you can see that or not, but when I put this back on there, it won't actually cover that hole perfectly, and you'll get a little bit of LED shining out of the sides. And the last thing that I do is actually clip off some of that plastic between the 4 holes so that the LEDs shine out the sides a little better. When I first started doing this mod, I didn't clip out that plastic, and you could actually tell that there was 4 LEDs under the logo, but this way it shines a little better. Make sure you get all the chaff back off of there. Put that back on. I'll go ahead and do the next one off camera. Okay, so the holes are drilled, and I've got a little diagram that I drew to help me orient the LEDs properly. But basically I'm just shoving the LEDs down in the holes. And trying to orient the legs so that I can route them according to the diagram. And I will say this part really doesn't matter. It's really going to depend on how many LEDs you use, you know, where you place them. Like if you're only using 2 up here, if you cut out that square and then just shine in 2 or whatever, then you're gonna wire your LEDs different than I'm doing mine. So just consider this kind of a general guide. Also, you really have to know or have to learn a little bit about LEDs on your own. I will help teach you a little bit, but I'm not going to do the math for you. I've had a couple people email me or put comments on YouTube videos wanting to know what resistor they should use. Well, I'm not going to do that for you. I will show you where you can go and find out what resistor you need. It's very simple. Just Google or type in the address bar ledcalc.com. It's LED calc. It's super simple. You just type in the specifications of your LED, which can be found on the datasheet for it, or sometimes you can just find them right. Like I can pull them right from the I don't know how you would call it, the listing in Mauser. It'll show you forward current, voltage, and milliamp, stuff like that. You just type those in, and it'll tell you what resistor to use. You can even change it so it's LEDs in parallel, LEDs in series, stuff like that. And that's exactly what I did with these LEDs. I found out, or I should say I figured out how to arrange these so that I actually have 2 in series and then a resistor. Turns out it was a 1 ohm resistor, which totally stupid, kind of pointless, but even 1 ohm is better than nothing. I didn't want to short the LEDs out and have them melt, stuff like that. And then I'm just bending the legs around. This took me a while to figure out, of course. Cut off the excess. Again, you can do this however you want to. This just happens to be how I do it, to have 2 in series and then a resistor. And of course I push all the leads down so that they're not going to come anywhere near the circuit board. which does have a bunch of legs from the wiring. You got ground and 5-volt power and stuff all over the place right here, so you definitely don't want them to touch. I haven't found it super necessary to put electrical tape over it, but it sure wouldn't hurt if you're at all worried about it. Okay, now the resistors, little flux, got the leads from, the negative leads from 3 resistors. I will solder to the 3 LEDs to the resistor, I should say. Flux really helps pull solder right off of your iron to make the joint. Bend all these leads around from the resistors so that they all come together. Get rid of excess. Solder those together. I know you don't need to see me do this twice, I just happen to be doing 2, 'cause that's what the customer sent me. Okay, so at this point I would normally attach maybe 3 inches of 2 conductors, and of course I would pull from where the resistors meet and then where all my positive legs meet, and I would solder them to these 2 holes out on the outside of the circuit board. And of course I made myself a note here the inside hole is negative and the outside hole is 5-volt positive. Makes it very easy. And then I would put all my junk back in there and put the circuit board on top of it, and that would be it. However, this customer wants a switch placed on the top so he can turn the lights on and off. Normally wouldn't do that, but he agreed to pay extra to have it done, so I'm going to do it for him. And I really don't see any reason to make a bunch of video about that. Pretty self-explanatory. It's just a switch, and there's really not much else to see. Solder some wires to the circuit board into the switch, mount the switch, no big deal. But I will get a shot of it before I button it all up. Okay, maybe there is a little bit of interesting video here to shoot. Mounting that switch and how I do it. I'll start in on this one. I've got this single pole double throw switch that I use for almost everything. And it's out of stock at Mounds or something. I have to look elsewhere for it, otherwise I'd post a number for it. But basically what I did was just laid it in there and kind of eyeballed it, and then I drilled 2 small holes, and then I just kind of cut out the plastic in between them. But then I break out my file set, which this is just a really cheap miniature, it says needle file set. Got it at Walmart, and it's been super handy. This is kind of a square one, and it's got the grooves on all 4 sides, and then there's a kind of a thicker flat one that I use a lot. Really, really handy. And then I'll just go in that hole and just start filing and placing the switch back in there until I can actually look through and see the metal case of that switch through the hole to make sure I can get full actuation both ways on it. And then I'll actually solder up the wires, place it down in there, and then stick some hot glue on it so it stays in place. This one will actually be easier because I actually can put some hot glue below it instead of just on the sides and on top, which happens a lot in the top loader just because of access. So I'll put some, I bend these wings on the sides of the switch out a little bit so I can get hot glue between the wings and the case, and a little bit on top and everywhere. And I'll put some on top as well. So, pretty interesting. Okay, here's a close-up shot of the switch glued down. Still operational. Always got to make sure of that because the glue will get down in there and actually stick to the actuator inside of that housing. The wires running around. There's a little bit of glue hair there I got to get rid of. Anyway, close it up. Check it out. Okay, so I'm hooked up here. Might be a little bit too bright for you to see the lights. Get a better idea. Operate the switch. Yay. But I've got a homemade test cart, and this is really good for testing controllers. There you have it. Good stuff.